Hello, 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 everybody. My name is Steve Ford, and welcome to your English lesson. Have you ever asked yourself, what is my English level? Basic, intermediate, advanced? Well, I was very hard at work preparing a quiz for you, and it's 30 questions long, it's multiple choice, and you will have 5 seconds to answer each question. And after you finish this, I do invite you to do a longer quiz, which you can do uninterrupted on my website for free. The way that the test is organized is that there is A1 and A2, which is the basic level. And then if you get enough right, you can go to the intermediate level, which is B1 and B2. If you get enough correct there, then you can try the advanced level, which is C1 and C2. C2, if you reach that far, is near fluent level, almost a native speaker. So just one more thing before you start the quiz, and that's I suggest that you get a pen and paper so that you can write down any of the mistakes or questions that you have. And if you have any questions for me, then you can put it in the comment section below. So are you ready? Let's go. Which sentence is correct? She work at a store. She working at a store. She works at a store. She is works at a store. The answer was letter C. She works at a store. That is correct. And I'm going to say why. So in this case, you want to use the simple present in the third person singular. And anytime we do that, the verb takes an S. For example, he, she, or it works. Question number 2. Is this coat yours coat? The yours? Yours? The your? If you thought that the answer was letter C, that is correct. It's very basic English, but important to remember your possessive adjectives and your possessive pronouns. My, mine, your, yours, his, and so on. So you could say this is your coat, or you could say this is yours. Number 3, have you got a car? Yes, I have. Yes, I do. Yes, I have got. Yes, I got. And if you thought that the answer was letter A, yes, I have, that is correct. Now, I want to explain something to you very important, so listen up. In British English, we use have got, and sometimes in American English, but especially British English, for possession, for things that we possess. And that's the short answer for it. So if somebody asks you, have you got, then you answer, yes, I have. Or something longer, yes, I have got a car. In comparison, in American English, it's normal to ask people, do you have? In the short answers, we're also going to use that auxiliary verb. Yes, I do, or no, I don't. Number 4, she is liking ice cream. She liking ice cream. She like ice cream. She likes ice cream. And if you thought that the answer was letter D, you are correct. So what's very important to remember is that there are some verbs which we call stative verbs. These are verbs that describe our thoughts or opinions. And some examples include like, believe, hate, prefer, want, love. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that sometimes you hear people say, I'm loving it. That is true. It's used in McDonald's commercials, but grammatically, that's not going to work on a test. you would need to say, I love it. Next one, number 5. Who are people over there? Those, these, this, them. The answer is those, letter A. Now, why do we say those in this case? Well, it all has to do with if it's close or if it's far. And in this case, you can see over there at the end of the sentence, so it's far away. So we should use those. Now, these are demonstrative pronouns, this, that, these, those. So for example, you have this rose and that rose. Or you have these roses and those roses. So it depends on the distance. Number 6, what does she want? She wants. Does she want? Do she want? And the answer is letter A, what does she want? So this has everything to do with using questions, making questions with WH words like who, what, where, when, why, which, whose, and whom. For example, what does she want? Who do I like? Why do they eat so little? When do they start school? Which drinks does she like? Number 7, could I have other drink? An other drink? Another drink? If you thought the answer was letter C, you are correct. It's another drink. Could I have another drink? So what's going on here? What's going on? So there are 2 things you want to be careful of here. One is spelling, and the other one is articles. So we say another drink, we spell all of that together, and other comes together. You could say a drink, the drink, or you could say other drinks. Number 8, my husband, my birthday. A, forgets always. B, always forget. C, always forgetting. D, always forgets. If you thought that it was letter D, yes, that is correct. Always forgets. So please don't forget at the basic level that you want to study the order that adverbs go in. So the important idea for you to remember is how we can use frequency adverbs, basic frequency adverbs like never, seldom, rarely, sometimes, usually, often, always. We can use all of those in the following way. You can always put it between the subject and the verb. I always speak English. So you can use that for all the frequency adverbs. Number 9. I didn't my watch. A, found. B, find. C, to find. D, finding. And if you thought that the answer was letter B, that is correct. Be very careful here. Sometimes advanced English learners can also make this mistake. So what's happening here? We want to say did not find, which is did not plus the base form of the verb. That's the important part to remember. Number 10, which sentence is correct? She is more tall than him. She is taller than him. She is taller than he. She is taller than him. If you thought that the answer was letter D, that is correct. She is taller than him. So what we want to do here with comparative adjectives to know how we should use them is to clap your hands. Yes, you want to clap your hands. So if you have a short adjective, what we consider short, then you can find 1 or 2 syllables in that word. For example, tall. That's one syllable, one clap. What about easy? Easy. That's two syllables. And in the comparative, that would be taller than, easier than. But please be careful, exceptions are possible. So that's the first part of the test for the basic level, A1 and A2. How did you do? If you got 7 or less, that means that you're at the basic level. If you got 8 or more, that means that you can move on to the intermediate part of the test. So let's go. By the way, if you need more help, I do give private lessons, and you can contact me at the link below to schedule your first free trial lesson. Number 11, which sentence is correct? A, she has finished yesterday. B, she has finished yesterday. C, she finished yesterday. D, she finishes yesterday. If you thought that the answer was letter C, that is correct. So we would say she finished yesterday. So what is this about? So you really want to use the simple past when you see simple past time expressions in the sentence. Yesterday, last night, a week ago, last year. These are a dead giveaway. They are very obvious that you need to use the simple past. Number 12, which sentence is correct? A, I already gone to Miami. B, I have already been to Miami. C, I have already went to Miami. D, I already been to Miami. The correct answer is B, I have already been to Miami. And why do we say that? So when you say I have already been to Miami, it means that I have already visited Miami. I already know Miami. Number 13, which sentence is correct? When I was young. A, I used to play video games. B, I'm used to play video games. C, I am used to playing video games. D, I used to playing video games. And the correct answer is letter A, I used to play video games when I was young. So what's going on here? Well, used to is actions done with some frequency in the past. We use used to plus the base form. For example, I used to be shy. Once again, you can see used to plus be, the base form, shy. Number 14, I told her that I was married him. A, to. B, nothing, and to. C, for, with. D, to, with. If you thought that the answer was letter B, you are correct. So this has a lot to do with prepositions. And try to remember that we say tell her, but say to her. We also say married to someone, not married with someone. Which sentence is correct? Can you borrow me your pen? Can you to borrow me your pen? Can you to lend me your pen? Can you lend me your pen? If you thought that the answer was letter D, high five, that is correct. And I'm going to tell you why. So in this case, you really need to understand how we use lend or borrow. We use them a little differently. So you could say, can I borrow your car? You could say, can you lend me your car? They mean the same thing, but we use different words to say the same thing. For example, hey Joe, can I borrow your car?
You want to borrow my car?
Are you sure you don't want to lend it to me?
You gotta be kidding me.
Number 16, which sentence is correct? A, if it will rain, I will take an umbrella. B, if it rains, I would take an umbrella. C, if it rained, I will take an umbrella. D, if it rained, I would take an umbrella. And of course, the answer is letter D. So what's happening here? So you want to imagine, in this case, we're talking about conditional 2. So we have, if it rained, I would take an umbrella. Look at the structure here for conditional 2. We have the simple past in the if clause, then we have a modal plus the base form of the verb. You could also use modals like could or might. So conditional 2 is often used when we are imagining a situation which hasn't happened yet. So for example, if I'm sitting here and it's sunny outside, then the weather's fine. It's sunny outside, great. In this case, I am just imagining, and I would say, I would use this conditional 2. If it rained, I would take an umbrella because it's sunny outside. I'm just imagining if it rained. But if I see, this is more like Vancouver. If you can see there are clouds in the sky, it's getting kind of dark, then you can use a conditional 1. In this case, you would say, if it rains, I will take an umbrella. You could use will or might or may. And did that boat just go backwards? I'm not sure. Question 17. She said, I went there last night. What did she say? A, she said that she had gone there last night. B, she said that she went there last night. C, she said that she would go there last night. D, she said that she had went there last night. If you thought that the answer was letter A, that is correct. So this is all about reported speech. And there's a long list of verbs that are in direct speech. We have simple present, as you can see, goes to simple past. We have simple past, which goes to past perfect, like the one in our question. Present perfect goes to past perfect. Present progressive goes to past progressive. The one that you will love, because these are like formulas, is that past perfect goes to past perfect. There's no change. It's great. Number 18. I didn't pass my test. I have studied more. A, must. B, would. C, shall. D, should. If you thought that the answer was letter D, should, that is correct. So in this case, it's good to review how modals can change in their function in the present and in the past. For example, should have studied is a past expectation. Must have studied is a deduction. Would have studied is speculation. We're getting close, everybody. We've almost finished the intermediate level of the test. So here's question 19. Which sentence is correct? A, by the time I arrived home, she already went to bed. B, by the time I had arrived home, she already went to bed. C, by the time I arrived home, she had already gone to bed. D, by the time I had arrived home, she had already gone to bed. If you thought that the answer was letter C, that is correct. So in this case, we have one of the more difficult verb tenses for people to learn and to remember. And also a lot of native speakers make mistakes with the past perfect. So we want to talk about two actions that happened in a sequence in the past. So for example, she went to bed, I arrived home. Because she went to bed first, that action goes into the past perfect. That's had plus the past participle. She had gone to bed. And the action that happened after that goes into the simple past. By the time I arrived home, she had already gone to bed. Number 20, we're almost at the end of the intermediate part of the test. John, I don't like scary movies. Jenny, either do I. Neither do I. So do I. Neither am I. And if you thought that the answer was B, neither do I, that is correct. So what's going on here? Well, this is when we're using neither and so to agree with what people have said. In this particular question, and because we're doing a long test, I'm going to focus on neither. So if somebody says, I don't like, think, have, work, if you want to agree with them, then you can say it two ways. Neither do I or I don't either. They both mean the same thing. Of course, in the simple present, there is an exception, and that's when you use the verb be. Be very careful not to mix the two, because be is the exception. So, for example, you could say, I am not cold. And then the other person says, neither am I, or I am not either. Whew, so take a little stretch there. Yeah, we've been through 20 questions. And how did you do? We finished the intermediate level. Did you get 7 or less correct? If you did, then the intermediate level is for you. If you got 8 or more correct, then you can move on to the advanced level. So if you have 8 or more, let's go. Number 21, he's a funny person. A, really? B, such? C, so? D, such a? If you thought that the answer was letter D, that is correct, such a. So this has everything to do with so and such and what needs to go after them. So you could use so plus adjective, so beautiful. Or you could add some articles and a noun to it. You could say, such a beautiful woman. Number 22, I remember leaving my car keys on the table. A, strongly. B, entirely. C, deeply. D, clearly. And if you thought that the answer was D, clearly, that is correct. So why do we use clearly in this case? The key here is collocations. What are collocations? These are 2 or more words that often go together. They're like building blocks. Other examples, strongly believe, deeply concerned, entirely agree, or agree entirely. Number 23, having her driving test several times, she finally passed her 4th time. A, taken. B, had. C, attended. D, made. And if you thought that the answer was letter A, taken, that is correct. So here we have 2 things. We have a collocation where we say to take a test. That's the verb that we use for test, take a test. The second thing has to do with grammar. So in this case, it's just a fancy name, but we call it perfect participles. Well, what does that mean? That's having plus the past participle. You can use that as a subject or an object. And it's used to indicate that one event happened before another. For example, having studied English for 5 years, he was able to pass the test. Let's go to that next one, number 24. The experiment testing an individual's reaction to different kinds of music. A, consisted. B, incorporated. C, involved. D, contained. If you thought that the answer was letter C, involved, that is correct. You'll hear this as you get more advanced in English, is that you want to be good at word choice. Now, what is word choice? Word choice is the correct verb and preposition combination that goes in the right context. Other ways of saying this would be consisted of, included, or entailed. We're getting higher level now. Number 25, very rarely in January. A, I run. B, do I run? C, I am running. D, am I running? If you thought that the answer was letter B, that is correct. So we're getting into the higher levels here, and I'm going to tell you why, in case you got this one wrong. Never, little, rarely, seldom, barely, hardly ever. We have a little formula that we use when we put them at the beginning of a sentence. When it's in the middle of a sentence, like I was saying before about placement of basic adverbs, we put it between the subject and the verb. I rarely run in January. That's a simple present. Or you could say, rarely do I run in January. So we have adverb, auxiliary verb, and the subject pronoun. So we change the order of the subject pronoun and the verb here. We do an inversion. Rarely do I run. And you can use that for all of them. You could say, hardly ever do I run. Never do I run. This is a more formal way of saying the same thing. Number 26. The news of the robbery soon A, broke out. B, came over. C, spread out. D, got round. If you thought that it was got round, that is correct. That is the correct phrasal verb in context here. I can see that somebody who gets that one right has done a lot of reading and a lot of Netflix. So these are similar, but not exactly the same. So you can say break the news, or you could say to spread the news or spread news. But you wouldn't say spread out news. You wouldn't say break out news. That sounds strange. Number 27, if his boss, him telling a competitor about their new products, he would still have a job. A, hadn't caught. B, wouldn't have caught. C, didn't catch. D, wouldn't catch. If you thought the answer was letter A, hadn't caught, that is correct. So this is also a higher level structure. This is a mix of conditional 3 and conditional 2. At the beginning of conditional 3, if his boss hadn't caught him, so we're using in the if clause, past perfect plus the past participle. And then in the dependent clause, we're using a conditional 2. He would still have a job now, using a modal plus base form of the verb. So we're, as I said before, we're mixing conditional 3 and 2 together. Number 28, he is well of the challenges involved in setting up a business. A, acquainted. B, knowledgeable. C, learned. D, aware. And if you thought that the answer was letter D, aware, that is correct. So this has everything to do with word choice and specifically prepositions. You could say acquainted with, knowledgeable about, well learned in, on, or about. Number 29. For his support, she would have given up years ago. A, unless it had been. B, if it were. C, if only it wasn't. D, had it not been. And if you thought that the answer was letter D, had it not been, high five, that was really good. So there's some meaning in had it not been for someone or something. And what that really means is thanks to or because of. Because of or thanks to his support, she didn't give up. And then we can use had it not been for, but use it in a different way to mean the same thing. Had it not been for his support, she would have given up years ago. Very important thing that you want to remember is the inversion of if clauses. And this happens in conditional 2, if plus subject, and using was or were. Third conditional, any third conditional, which is if plus the subject plus had plus the past participle. The original order would be if it had not been for his support, she would have given up years ago. We need to change the order of the subject, it, and had. And we invert them. We say, had it. We're at the end, everybody. Number 30. Did you make it this far? The thing is, darling, my father would rather each other anymore. A, us not seeing. B, we didn't see. C, are not seeing. D, we aren't seeing. If you thought that the answer was B, we didn't see, well, hats off. Very well done. And I'm going to explain why we use this. We use would rather to be polite, and we use it to talk about present choices. And the way we say it, you could say, I would rather have wine. We use the base form after would rather. So I could ask you, would you like beer or wine? And you could say, I would rather have wine. Another way that we can use it is when we talk about what we want someone else to do. So we could say, my father would rather we didn't see each other. And in that case, we're putting it in the simple past, and it's a subjunctive verb tense. Simple past subjunctive. What it means is the same thing here. My father doesn't want us to see each other again. So it's just a more polite way, a more advanced way of saying the same thing. So you made it. We finished all 30 questions and we've reached the advanced level. In this last part of 10 questions, if you got 7 or less, then you are in the advanced level. And if you got 8 or more, that means that you are near native. Of course, we know that for these kinds of tests, they need to be longer, and that's why I'm going to include a quiz on my website. So we focus mostly today on grammar, word choice, phrasal verbs, and collocations. Okay, everybody, if you would like to do a longer free quiz on my website, you can go to the link below. I also, as I said before, give private lessons if you need more help to understand all of these questions and the explanations and how to practice for it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them down below. You can also ask me on my other social networks at the links below. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can do that here. If you'd like to watch more videos, you can do that here. And I look forward to seeing you in our next English lesson. Bye, everybody.